everyone, if you're interested in a book spoiler-free review of episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Season 3 of The Wheel of Time, go ahead and climb to the top of Dragonmount's YouTube page and come hang out with me. Leave comments, let me know what you think, and I'll see you over there. Haven't read The Wheel of Time, but you don't want to be spoiled for the books? No problem. I've seen the first 3 episodes of The Wheel of Time Season 3 on Amazon Prime, and I have some thoughts. Hey everyone, welcome to Dragonmount. I'm Tom. Recently, I had the opportunity to watch episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Season 3 of Amazon Prime's Wheel of Time, and I love them. But before we go too deep into those, I want to send a huge thank you out to all of our viewers out there, everyone who's watching this video right now, everyone who watches our content. Y'all are the reason why we do this. Please interact with this video, like, comment, share it with some friends and family. Head over to the Dragonmount Discord and, join in some chats. Give us an idea of the content you'd like to see. Would you like some deep dives into anything in particular? We are always on the lookout for what our viewers want from our pre-recorded, long form content. And I'd love to give you guys something specifically that you'd like. But I'd also like to give just a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. You guys help keep the lights on, and we are constantly trying to provide new content for y'all, and we have some new stuff coming to y'all pretty soon. A huge thank you to our sponsors, Tor Books. Without them, none of this would be possible. I mean, not even the books. But Tor has thousands of other fantastic fantasy novels out there, not just The Wheel of Time. Be sure to go over to the Tor website, check out their library. It's extensive. And some of us here on Dragonmount have even had the chance to review a bunch of Tor books. So go and check out our YouTube page and Dragonmount.com, where you can find a lot of articles from our fantastic writing staff on books that have been reviewed, but also 25 years worth of Wheel of Time content. So we pick up about a month after the events of Season 2, and our characters are now in Tar Valon. And I grabbed a map for you guys so you can get an idea of the distance that they've traveled here. Yeah, it's pretty significant. Think of traveling basically from Southwest Texas to New York, on the coast somewhere. That's essentially the distance that they traveled, maybe even a little bit further. And it took them about a month by ship, we learned through this episode. And it also seems like the events of this episode happen over the course of one day, which seems like a lot, especially for the things that go on. I digress. Anywho, I just want to say right off the bat about these first 3 episodes, absolutely gorgeous. The set design, costuming, hair, makeup, phenomenal, just wonderful. All the Evansfielders, Elaine, Maureen, Landman Dragaron, Loyal, Son of Arendt, Son of Halan, Bane, Chiad, and Avienda are all hanging out at the Queen's Blessing Inn, it would appear. Maybe the Queen's Blessing Inn, but also could, I guess, just be a diplomatic building for the daughter heir of Andor. I'm not sure. I only say I'm not sure if it's the Queen's Blessing Inn because no one seems to work there. We don't see an innkeeper or anyone else. But, Maureen gets what Maureen wants. I won't stay too long on the battle in the White Tower because we did see this, a few times already at this point with the 11-minute sneak peek and a lot of the screenshots. And, we've already made extensive videos on this. So if you want to go and check out a deep dive into the sneak peek, you can. But I mean, fantastic. The weaving is so cool. One of my favorite things is the consistency in which they do their motions with the weaves, and you can see when they throw those blades of air, it's they are almost forming it in between their hands and throwing it. Pretty sick. More gory than I thought it would be, but it's poignant for the power really of the one power that they're wielding, to see what it really can do. I feel like for the people that aren't involved in the combat and don't really know what's going on, to see a lot of warders dying in this scene. And we know that affects the Aes Sedai in more ways than we can ever understand. Especially this one particular green Aes Sedai who reveals herself to be Black Aja. Oh man, she's sick. And the horror almost elements of these first 3 episodes seem to be maybe setting a theme for this season, and I'm honestly I'm here for it. I'm kind of here for it. It's because really in my honest opinion, The Wheel of Time is definitely a multi-genre epic more than it is a singular fantasy thing, and dialing up the horror is a great way to show that because things are pretty scary in The Wheel of Time. One of the things that I love that they do in these episodes, it's been especially true through Season 2 as well, is how they break up a lot of the more serious story beats with comedy and, strong comedy bits where it's hard not to laugh out loud. Hence, has anyone ever noticed the White Tower? Yeah. fantastic. But it really does balance the more serious bits in these episodes, and I really enjoy that. One character that I think really shone through these first 3 episodes is Matt Cawthon. Like, he has been on an interesting journey, especially, you know, the change of actors. But Donald really sold me as Matt in season 2 when he first meets up with Perrin and Rand for the first time. He really eats in these first 3 episodes. He has a lot of great story beats. He has some serious beats, especially in this first episode with Nynaeve, where he really brings down that like self-deprecating, jokester, boisterous defense that he puts up and talks to the wisdom of his village about what he's experiencing, which I thought was a really powerful scene. Of course, then it's interrupted immediately by a odd bubble of events, one might call them. An axe coming to life and chasing Perrin around a room, mirror images of Rand stepping out of the mirrors of the room and attacking him and Egwene, and the playing cards that have the Heroes of the Horn from season 2 displayed on them, distracting Matt in a way that allowed the Gray Man to stab Nynaeve 11 times. Like, yeah, she got healed, but, you know, that dress is not going to heal. You can't heal that dress. And that was a really nice outfit. I love how they left the wounds on Matt's neck also after his round of Maiden's Kiss. I thought that was good. Obviously, he survived, so he must have gotten better at it toward the end. Or, you know, he might not have made it through. Seems like there might have been a little tension there with Egwene and Rand, not just in the relationship that they have with each other, but also, you know, where they are in their own heads with the trauma that they've suffered, as well as Rand obviously battling with the taint on the One Power. His struggle with the sweetness and the sourness of channeling the One Power. You know, they talk about how it's like euphoric, while, you know, we understand at the same time the male half of the One Power being corrupted in a way and causing the men to lose control. As if summoned by her name, Lanfear is always just a delight to have on screen. Really, like, having her and Maureen on the screen at the same time is tough because, like, both of them have such presence. You know, it's hard to really see who's taking over the scene. As always, we have beautiful ear accoutrement from the costuming department. Maureen really showing her ruthlessness here to keep everyone on track on the journey that she wants to take them to what she thinks is right, which, you know, honestly, what do you guys think? Is she a dark friend? Is she not a dark friend? Like, she's working with them. She allowed this to happen. Obviously, you know, she didn't anticipate the Gray Man thing and Nynaeve being stabbed 11 times, but Lan is not having any of this. There's a lot of faces he makes throughout this episode that make me believe he is not for this. And, like, I feel like there could be some arguments happening that we don't see on screen. But at the end of the day, he did sit by and wait, and he did agree to do it, so just as much on him. Building that relationship out with Nynaeve is beautiful too. I love the exchange of the ring there. It's almost like a promise. He told her, like, he would want her as his queen. So, like, yes, it's like almost just like a promise ring, but it also felt a little bit more than that. It felt like, you know, this was like a dedication, like, to, I want to be with you forever, and just in case I never see you again, here you go. This relationship between Elaine and Avienda is beautiful. I love the way they kind of hinted toward it from the beginning. You know, Matt and Rand and Perrin kind of sharing some of the experience they had through season 2 when they were apart. And Matt, when he mentioned Avienda, he was like, you know, she's only got eyes for Helene. You know, she said, and Perrin too, and they had that little exchange, but Elaine. And then when Elaine and Nynaeve and Egwene are all in the common room of whatever that building is, whether it's the Queen's Blessing or like a diplomatic building or whatever for Andor, she talks about the Aiel culture, and Egwene is like, oh, you know about the Aiel culture. So, like, there was that little exchange. And then obviously then we have the direct contact with Elaine and Avienda in the market, and coming to fruition at the end of that episode there with them finally getting together. And I thought that was great. I love Kira Kovini's portrayal of Elaine. She's so down to earth and, you know, not at all pompous or posh like you would imagine maybe a princess essentially is what she would be. The ABC maidens, Avienda, Bane, and Chiad, absolutely amazing, hilarious, always a constant supply of comedy and amazing fighting, and also great depth to their characters. And then we had the super freaky Forsaken, or as they refer to themselves, the Chosen, Mogideon. Leia Costa's portrayal is just amazing. She's so creepy. And this is, again, some more of those horror elements elements coming in. She has what appears maybe could be a white cloak based on the armor and clothing that we can kind of see through those spider webs. Jaichim, she calls him, hoisted up in this dark, creepy, unknown location. The weaving, again, beautiful, really fine attention to detail work she's doing. Like even the weaving is very thin and like fine looking, like she's doing like specific work. And the look of ecstasy on her face was just like, I got chills just now, just like thinking about it again. And of course it ends with the fingers in the mouth. Oh, I was just like, if I ever have the chance to interview either of those actors and be like, was that ad-libbed? Like, did that happen? Like, was that written down? Or did like Leia be like, hey, I want to try something. Are you okay with this? And just stuck her fingers. Whatever the decision was there. But great, because man, they're really driving home that she is just scary and we should be scared of her. Then our group splits up. I love the way, we start the episode showing our group, having their little group meeting, and things are lighthearted. And then by the end of the episode, we come full circle. They're having their group meeting again, but now everyone's kind of going their separate ways. Perrin's going home with Loyal, Bane, and Chiad. Nynaeve and Elaine and Matt are staying in the White Tower. Rand, Avienda, Lan, and Moiraine are heading to the Aiel Waste, or the Threefold Land, as the Aiel call it. But we could see that our group heading to the Aiel Waste is pretty far along their journey. They're close to Kinslayer's Dagger and the spine of the world, so it could be, quite, a little bit of time. If it was a month to get from Falme to Tar Valon, this could be, a few weeks at the very least. First, we have to talk about that cold open. Morgaze of House Trankend, Queen of Andor, sitting upon the Lion Throne is just a great shot. This is it's evoking very much so like Victorian monarchy. It's even like a cathedral feel. Again, set design is beautiful. Both the practical effects and the CG look great. Costuming is great. And whoo, is she ruthless. We see her pregnant, probably with baby Elaine. Brothers Galad and Gawain come in, and this is our first introduction to them. And there's Elaida Sedai right behind her, placing that crown on her head, almost as if, like, I'm responsible for this. Yes, you're queen, but I'm making you queen, is kind of what that scene felt like to me. And since this is a matriarchal society, she takes out her competition. Look out, Game of Thrones. We have another ruthless blonde-haired queen who, is going to give the one over there a run for her money, for sure, I feel like. And after a quick exchange between Elaine, Verin, and Leanne Sedai, she shows up to Tar Valon looking for her daughter. And since we know Elaine sent 2 notes, one to Tyr and then one directly to the hands of Queen Morgaze, she's probably responsible for these uninvited guests. Siuan trying to show her who's really in charge by making her wait a few minutes. I really loved again, a little bit of comedy, the addition of the cough, and kind of everyone looked over and was like, what's going on over there? Like, that was funny. Galad and Gawain, Arthurian references here, were all of the pomp and circumstance that a prince of Andor would be, I would think. Leanne herself had like a little bit of like a moment there when Gabriel walked in. And obviously from episode 3, we know that he is in fact the Forsaken Ravine, who has been twisting the minds of those around him. He says, everyone who I meet would think we'd be together for 10 years. So maybe, he was doing some fiddling there when he walked into the room, which is pretty ballsy to be doing in a room full of Aes Sedai. In this episode, we get to see a lot of the inner workings of the politics of the White Tower, with Elaida showing up, and there's obviously tensions between Elaida and Siuan. We find out Elaida was even vying for the Amyrlin seat at one point. That the level of politicking goes all the way down to the micro level. High-level politicking between the different Ajahs in the Amyrlin seat, the sitters and each other, but also within the Ajahs themselves. The Reds don't seem to have as much camaraderie as we saw in some of the other scenes from season 1 and 2 with the different Ajahs specifically of the Aes Sedai. I'm thinking of like the Blues that we saw and some of the Browns with each other. But the Reds here seem to kind of be constantly vying for control and authority. They throw around a lot of words like highest and sitters. The sitters are the people that we saw in the room with the Amyrlin seat. They are like the representatives of each Ajah. Almost like if this was a seat of government where the Amyrlin seat was the president, they would be like senators and things like that sat in the House of Representatives or the Congress. And then we hear the word highest, which is like the highest ranking Aes Sedai within the Red Aja. We know that each Aja has different names for those. A lot of game playing here, the game of houses, Dazdemar being thrown around as they are shuffling political power, especially when Elida gives those gifts to the two Aes Sedai when she walks in the room. So one of the last times that we saw the Two Rivers, it wasn't looking great, but it seems like they've rebuilt. Still no blacksmith. Good thing one has come to town. The Waygate was gorgeous. I really enjoyed seeing like how other non-channeling folks kind of use the Waygate. So the Ogier being tied to the Waygate, we do hear Loyal say like, people shouldn't travel the ways. People shouldn't travel the ways without an Ogier guide. So the Ogier having kind of their own way in and out is poignant. And the effect of that kind of like leaves growing and him plucking that one leaf out was just fantastic. Everyone in the Two Rivers showing like their loyalty for each other. Immediately, Marin Alvear, Gwen's mom, was just willing to just take Perrin in, hide him. Already hiding Alana and Maxim, we see. I wonder what she's doing in the Two Rivers. Speaking of the Two Rivers folk, Matt's not doing great. It seems like the issues that he's having with his memories and these voices in his head, driving him at least to be willing to seek healing even, which is unsuccessful, it would appear. A nice reunion between he and Min. Well, not a nice, really. Well, interesting reunion between he and Min. Still tensions there. Obviously, Min almost selling him out to the Forsaken, even though she tried to stop it. And this exchange between Siuan and Matt is just glorious. We had mentioned in episode 1 from Nynaeve where she said you're clinging to the horn like a child, like a security blanket. Even though Matt is willing to give up the horn in episode 2, when she takes it away, we have like that one shot of him standing there like looking dejected and like he's letting a piece of himself go, and like he's very awkward standing there after he lets it go, and you can really see that. Another scene from an amazing actor. And obviously, since we know from episode 3 that Ravine is kind of manipulating those around him to have these false memories, he's amazing at it. He's very good at it, especially in that one exchange between he and Elaine where they really seem like two people who know each other very well and get on very well. That's a really complex set of weaves that he's doing there. It really puts on display the power and the talent of the Forsaken, I think. The exchange between Maureen and Rand at the end of the episode was also great. Like, we're learning a bit more about the One Power, Saidin and Saidar, the male half being Saidin, the female half being Saidar, and the differences to it. We kind of see that they both have the same kind of sweet, euphoric feeling, but then Rand going further and describing the taint and Maureen really seeing his struggle with it. So like, and understanding that she really doesn't know what's going on. And it's really dialing up that fear of, please don't go crazy. Please don't go crazy. And then, yay, we get to see some more Aiel. I couldn't wait to see the Aiel. And I love the way Robert Jordan crafted this culture and the way that they're portraying it on screen. They're a fun, interesting amalgam of so many different cultures and traditions, indigenous people from all over the world, but specifically you could see a lot of aspects of the Native Americans in the way that they're showing them on screen. We're learning about like their code of honor, Je'eto. We've heard it mentioned maybe once or twice so far. Sharon Gillam is doing with like such a reserved color palette and like obviously available materials to these people who would live in such an arid desert climate with very little trading we can see. So gorgeous. I'm really loving it. We did get some eye candy in this episode in the form of shirtless Gawain and Galad sparring. A lot of the accepted and even some Aes Sedai in the One Tower seem to be enjoying themselves. Egwene is definitely not having a great time. She's getting tortured what seems every night now by Lanfear in her dreams, while simultaneously Rand is being, seduced again by Lanfear in more ways than one, really. Really, I feel like it's presenting us with the question of, are these feelings that she's displaying to Rand true or not? I feel like the writers are doing a great job of keeping that in question, because like, how could someone really be honest about these feelings of love that they're displaying toward this person while literally almost at the same exact time actually torturing somebody with this horrible trauma that they went through. So the question mark next to Lanfear is huge, and for really all aspects of her character. And then really, honestly, I know this is book spoiler free, and this is not a book spoiler, but just like in the books, as the episodes go on, we just ramp up the drama, the lore, the information, the things that are going on is just up and up. And really, episode 3 is where everyone eats. Like, the meal here is served. Again, costuming gorgeous. We see Landrin in the Black Aja wandering through Tanchico, Landrin with that veil on. Everyone's looking dressed to the nines. I love it. It's like once they got out of the White Tower, they're like, let's go shopping. But I'm here for it. We learn a lot more about Landrin. You know, she says, when I was 13, I was here. So it's another, I like to latch on to, like, when we hear times on things, when we hear, like, you know, when we hear the characters mention specifically weeks, months, years, a date, an age, and then we can, you know, kind of extrapolate where things are from there. So, you know, she mentioned she was 13 when she had her son. Her son obviously appeared very, 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 very old, maybe in like 80s or 90s when he was decrepit in that bed. But that puts on display again the longevity of the Aes Sedai that we know. But that Forsaken meeting is, there's a lot of information that we see in there. We have 4 Forsaken at this meeting. So if we go back, we have mention now of 7 Forsaken, specifically their names. We have the assumption that if we believe our narrative here, that there are 8. We have in season 2, Lanfear mentioned Moghedien, Semiraj, and Grendel as the women. And we've seen Moghedien and Lanfear so far. And then she just kind of offhandedly mentions the boys. And we do know, obviously, we had Ishamael, Ishi, and now we meet Ravine and Samael. 3 of the boys now, Ishamael, Samael, and Ravine. But we do have all 4 of the women mentioned, but we haven't seen Grendel or Semiraj yet. So there's still 1 probably male Forsaken unaccounted for. He almost looks like a pirate captain or like a pirate general, like in his coat with like this saber at the side. It looks like he went to like the BBEG store and was like, I'll take that coat, you know, like off the rack. But it looks gorgeous. I really enjoy the costuming, specifically for the Forsaken, because we know they come from another time. So like, I'm always interested in their tastes and the things that they say, because we know that they're 3,000 years old and they come from another age. So hearing the things they say and the mannerisms they use and their choices in, you know, weapons and clothing is always very interesting to me. We see a form of teleportation in some way, or instantaneous travel that they use, where, you know, they kind of step through these portals or gateways into other areas, and we can even kind of see into Samael's a little bit. It seems like he's in a fortress maybe, or at least a building made of stone. We can kind of see a wall, a doorway, some torches, the ground, but can't really make out where he is yet. Elida is proving to set herself up to be another antagonist in this season. She immediately starts challenging Liane and Varen. And, you know, from what we've seen of Varen, she's very revered in the tower, almost like a celebrity amongst celebrities, like we saw from season 2 when she first came and the Accepted were like, oh, it's Varen Sedai, it's Varen Sedai. But, you know, Elida isn't having any of that. Though she does seem to have been removed from the tower long enough to not know the protocols. Or does she? Like, you know, did she go there testing the waters to see what she can get away with? That feels more Elida to me. Shorey, again, just, oh, God. I love her as this character. She's gorgeous. She dominates the screen when she's on. And I thought that would be difficult with other actors like Sophia Canedo and Rosamund Pike. But, whoo, man, Shorey Aghdashloo does a great job. Though we do see Elida struggling here. You know, she's got like seems like a shake in her hand. Something is going on. That serpent or snake bracelet she's wearing seems to be a little out of place, in my opinion. All of the serpent iconography we've seen having to do with the Aes Sedai is always like the serpent biting its own tail, and this is distinctly different. So I'm not sure what to feel about that at this point. So the events in the Two Rivers seem to be progressing, though, and I love this little game that's going back and forth with Loial and Bane and Chiad. I thought that's a lot of fun. Again, a great way to kind of break up the serious tones is these little bits of comedy, and Bane and Chiad are always good for it seems. And speaking of setting up other antagonists for the show, we see the White Cloaks again. Now, the White Cloaks are kind of like an amalgam of the Knights Templar and the Ku Klux Klan. He seems to be having a little bit of a drinking problem at the moment, and the imagery of his dirtiness, like his disheveledness amongst the White Cloaks, where everyone else is pristine. Like, yeah, whatever, you know, you're traveling, you're fighting, you get dirty, but it seems like keeping themselves pristine, that the White Cloak specifically is important to them, where, you know, you can kind of see everyone else is very clean. And he himself is like the only one that's dirty, but then at the same time, he also seems to be the only one who is not a fanatical zealot, where, you know, Emin Valdez, like, you know, I want to go basically put torture information out of everyone in the Two Rivers until I get what I want. And Dane is like, no, we're not putting the people of the Two Rivers to the question. So that's very poignant, I feel like, for him. You know, he's visually he's like the tarnished White Cloak, but what we're getting from him is a little less of a monster than you would expect to come out of a group like them. Though they are looking for Perrin, and we do know that his family escaped. So the scene between he and Alana was very beautiful. He seems to really starting to be able to let go of his wife. He buried the ring. Obviously, he was kind of forced into that with it getting cut off in episode 1. But the fact that he's burying it now with her body and getting that closure seems to be making that character grow a little bit more. I think we're going to see a lot of growth from him in this season, in that one of the things that I said about Perrin specifically was he's not going to grow until he's able to let that go and own what happened and have that closure. So I feel like we're seeing the first steps really here in that. Also, those apple blossom trees are absolutely beautiful, and I love the shot that we get of them. The Elaine and Nynaeve detective agency is fantastic. It gives really serious Nancy Drew vibes. Like it's awesome. I love it. Based on like what we've seen of Tanchico, and then like the idea of like that rune drawn on the ground with chalk and salt water, because she said it was like salty, is giving like Creole, New Orleans voodoo kind of feel to it, which is fun. Like I like that, especially because now that we're knowing like Tanchico is like a dangerous place, and like it's giving serious pirate vibes and Tortuga. I like that little addition. It's fun. It's giving a lot of depth to those people, and they're doing it in such a really quick, fun way on screen that it's not requiring a lot of exposition. It's just allowing the viewer to kind of build whatever they want off of that. The writers and cinematographers are doing a great job with that. And then the sweat tents. It seems like the Aiel are trying to make Lan and Maureen uncomfortable, though Lan seems slightly more uncomfortable than Maureen, almost like the heat's not bothering her so much. I love this play between the two of them. We're like, oh no, she's looking at you. No, I think she's looking at you. And Maureen's like, you think that's what I need? Like a night with her? And Lan's like, yeah, why not? Like, I love that play between them, like that closeness. It really puts on display this private relationship that they have with each other. Like, this is, the way Lan talks to Maureen and how Maureen talks to Lan when they're in private and they're, just being personal, not talking about their mission, puts onto display their closeness and their relationship. And I really like that, especially the fact that it's non-romantic. Seeing a platonic love between the two of them and how close they are is really cool to see on screen. We seem to have an adoptive refugee amongst the Aiel in the form of Melindra. She explains that she ran from Malkir at a young age. She seems to be a little bit older than Lan. She ran herself where Lan was taken as a baby, he talks about. So we have the golden crane on her back, and now this kind of almost budding relationship between the two of them. I don't think Lan's going to be cheating on our girl Nynaeve or anything, but there's definitely something going on there more than just, hey, I'm from Malkir. Cool dude. Like, we're going to see some more. Though the highlight of this episode is Matrim Cawthon and his competition between Galad and Gawain. Absolutely amazing. Torture that Matt was endearing from being positioned in a room between the two of them was wonderful. The insufferable nature that we saw of Galad and Gawain, the way they insert themselves into situations, rescuing damsels in distress, whether they like it or not, to have them put in their place was just wonderful. Matt's comments and the way he held himself, his whole demeanor made me think of like Bruce Lee when he's like cocky and arrogant, but then backs it up with absolutely beating the dog shit out of the two of them. Like, wonderful. Absolutely great. We do see a little bit on the darker side of Matt's future, maybe that hanged man again and the redstone kind of weird looking doorway with the snakes and foxes on it. Min is disturbed by this. Obviously, she has some feelings for Matt, whether they're romantic or not remains to be seen. She cares. She doesn't want Matt to get hurt. She wants to tell him. He doesn't want to know it. This image disturbs her because she cares. And it would seem that Nynaeve and Elaine are on the right track because someone is trying to kill them. Nynaeve pointing out at the end that she didn't mention who stabbed him was great. Like, their detective agency, top notch. They're going to do great things. I hope they get a high premium. One of the more poignant things we see are the diagrams of the items of the One Power. The bracelet, which now Nynaeve has said looks like an Adam bracelet that, we saw from season 2 with the Shanshin, though different. We see the weird kind of like Mobius strip circle on the one diagram. The flat plate kind of thing that we saw from episode 1 with all the spirals in it. We see the diagram of like a long rod. We see another one that looks kind of odd, and the picture kind of looks like a drawing of a woman seated with her head kind of hung forward and like something either coming out of her head or like a graphic or maybe even her hair kind of like flowing over her head. The weird chance cube or dice or whatever you want to call it that is like a weird shape. It looks like a broken Rubik's Cube. The broken Rubik's Cube terangrial. That's what we're going to call it. You know, I love that Amazon drops these episodes episodically, one might say, like, you know, weekly, where we get a chance to talk about them and really digest them. I honestly don't like, and not just because it's real time and we're doing this. It's not just a self-serving thing. Like I like to make these videos and things, but I mean, I do, but I've always really rathered these kind of installment versions of TV shows because it gives us a chance to digest them. It gives us something to look forward to. It keeps it relevant for longer. It makes me enjoy it more. It makes me remember it more, having to go back and like, oh yeah, okay, we're watching episode 4 now. We're watching episode 5 now next week. And like, I have to use my brain to remember it. I can't just sit here in one go, watch all the episodes, and then, you know, move on with my life. Even if I'm not doing these videos, I have to digest them and then wait till next week, bring up the memories in my head while I'm watching the episode. It's just, for me, it's how I prefer to take in content. Though I will say, dropping these first 3 episodes at once, what they're doing in a great way is to really build up what I hope will be a crescendo in the last 5 episodes. Like, we have the build up, the story beats of what's going to happen and what's going on with our 3 separate groups essentially here, and then the last 5 episodes I'm hoping for just like, you know, story beat after story beat after story beat. You know, they did a great job setting a great tone in the beginning with this action, and I feel like that's going to carry through from all of the trailers and marketing that we've seen from this season. So that's all I have for these first 3 episodes. Let me know what you think, and be sure to check out Dragonmount.com for all your latest in Wheel of Time news. I'll see you next time on the slopes of Dragonmount. Peace.
And that's our show. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, please subscribe, hit the like button, give us a thumbs up, or leave us a comment. We love comments, especially positive ones. And if you have any friends that are interested in the Wheel of Time, please share some of our videos with them. And as always, a huge thank you to our sponsor, Tor Books, as well as our amazing Patreon community. And if you are interested in learning about how more of this show was made or some Wheel of Time insights, you too can become a member of the Patreon community. And as always, follow us on Dragonmount with social media. And thank you so much for watching.